And now, here is your pandemic news report.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the Pandemic News Report, where we keep you updated on pathogen news and events. All right. So we have here in Pandemic News Report, we have Moderna scientists are now saying, they're now out here saying that the mRNA vaccines are quite faulty and not safe. Far from it. All right. Very far from being safe. And so with that being said, man, we're going to get right into it. All right. So the mRNA vaccines are extremely toxic. Moderna scientists now warn. All of a sudden, Moderna's getting into the picture. They was real quiet, and now they want to warn that it's been toxic. So when you look at this, it makes you want to kind of think a little bit and think back. If they're telling you it's toxic now, they're coming out trying to say it's toxic now, then most likely it was toxic when they was first giving them things out. All right. Straight like that. So let's get into it, man. So new research is published in the journal Nature Reviews Drug Discovery reveals that messenger RNA, also known as mRNA, vaccines are anything but safe. And this is coming from scientists who work at Moderna, one of the world's leading mRNA injection manufacturers. All right, the modified messenger ribonucleic technology produced by Moderna as well as Pfizer for the company's respective mRNA injections is delivered into human bodies using relatively new lipid nanoparticles. LNP, lipid nanoparticles technology. Lipid nanoparticle technology still has plenty of kinks, to put it lightly, that need to be worked out if its associated vaccine products are to ever be considered even remotely safe. A major challenge now is how to efficiently de-risk potential toxicities associated with mRNA technology, the scientists wrote, adding that the toxicity risk include lipid nanoparticle structural components. Y'all look up those words, all right? Get yourself educated, get yourself familiarized with these terms so you'll be more knowledgeable in case they come down with something else and then say you got to take something else. All right? Be leery about this stuff. Now they want to come out. There's some more. We got some more news coming pretty soon. Some other things is, yeah. I'm going to just leave it at that. All right? So lipid nanoparticle structural components, production methods. Route of administration and proteins produced from complex mRNAs. Authors Eric Jacquinet, Demetrios Betonis, I think that's how you pronounce it, and Maximilian Rogers all work at Moderna. So they are seeing the toxicity profile of mRNA firsthand. Now, if you start looking at the mainstream news and these names that I just mentioned, if you start seeing that something happened to them, or they say that, oh, they no longer work at Moderna, I'm just saying, use your brain, use your mind, all right? You can start figuring out what that's about, all right? Some of the known side effects of mRNA jabs that were already unleashed through, look this up too, Operation Warp Speed for the Wuhan coronavirus, COVID-19, include severe allergic shock and heart inflammation. Some cases of these injuries may involve hypersensitivity, but the reality is that most of them stem from the inherent toxicity of mRNA or messenger RNA and LNP technology. The study explains that any LNP mRNA component could be responsible for associated injuries, but that most injury cases, in the author's opinion or opinions, are probably are probably triggered by pegylated, I think that's how you pronounce it, lipid nanoparticles. I think it's also known as PEG, which they describe as the most potentially reactogenic component of mRNA shots. As we reported back in 2021, PEG, also known as polyethylene glycol, is highly allergenic. Early on in the pandemic, COVID shot reactions were being blamed on PEG, just as they are to a large degree in this new study. Excuse me. So what they're doing is they're still blaming PEG and not really blaming what's really going down. All right. They're still trying to play the shuffle game with y'all because they don't want you to know all of the truth. And we'll get a little bit into that as we read further down here. All right. They don't want you to get into all the stuff. They want to just hit you with a little bit and then kind of misinform you a little bit too. As they were saying, a lot of us was misinforming people 2 and 3 years ago. Now it's turning out that we weren't misinforming anyone, that we were telling the truth. All right. Now all the stuff's coming out now. And we knew it was coming. The truth is slowly coming out. Slowly coming out. They want you not to even forget about it. I mean, they want you to forget about it, and they putting all these other distractions in the mix. All right. And you should know what I'm talking about. All right. So again, early on in the pandemic, COVID shot reactions were being blamed on PEG, just as they are to a large degree in this new study, though we also shared evidence suggesting that mRNA technology may be capable of genetically reprogramming the human body, potentially turning it transhuman. All right, I'm going to read that one again. Are to a large degree in this new study, though we also shared evidence suggesting that mRNA technology may be capable of genetically reprogramming the human body, potentially turning it transhuman. When you hear these things about it may, and then you have these words potentially, when you have the words that end in ly, be very aware what those words are. All right. I've been in a interview and interrogation school, and they teach us to be very leery when people use words that end in ly. All right. I'm just saying. You got mRNA technology may be capable of genetically reprogramming the human body, potentially turning it transhuman. Whatever the case may be, mRNA is toxic, and so is its PEG component. Even so, the scientific community remains divided about the true causes of mRNA toxicity, likely because the technology is still new. There goes that likely, ly, is still so new that few have studied it in depth enough to come up with solidly, ly, definitive conclusions. All right. The Moderna researchers who compiled the new study drew their own conclusions. The Moderna researchers who compiled the new study drew their own conclusions from the consortium of previously published data on the subject, as well as from their own firsthand experience working at an mRNA manufacturer. To be clear, the scientists did not conduct any of their own new experiments in compiling their study. Related to this is, did you catch the secret Pfizer report showing that the mRNA manufacturer knew since at least February 2021 that its COVID jabs were killing people, but continue to sell and distribute them anyway. All right. Now you see when we was doing these reports and they was taking our videos off YouTube, Facebook, and so on. The only ones that didn't seem to do that was Twitter, if I'm not mistaken. So what they're doing, they're trying to hide stuff and slowly give you information and then play around and say, it still was new. Some of the scientists didn't do it in depth, but they already knew this. And they got so many millions of people so tricked, so faked out. They threaten you won't be able to work if you don't take this. And now a lot of people are having, I forget the term that's used about when they do something somebody told them to do, kind of a withdrawal thing. They're feeling bad now. They're feeling like they got played. That's what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. People are starting to find out they was been played the whole time. All right. So Moderna's mRNA safety smokescreen. All right, listen to this. One thing the new study points out that we also reported on is the fact that spike proteins and other mRNA components persist in human tissue and organs. Human tissue, One thing the new study points out that we also reported on is the fact that spike proteins and other mRNA components persist in human tissue and organs for months, if not longer, despite manufacturer claims that the injection contents exit the body within days following the injection. Could it be that this lengthy persistence is another factor in mRNA's extreme toxicity? Amazingly, the Moderna scientists behind the new paper still say that their company's mRNA shot is safe and effective. Now, after me reading all of this, and the Moderna scientist is telling you, I think I read 3 names that people that's in Moderna. They telling you what's going on. They're playing around and trying to do a pump fake on you a little bit. They're telling you a little bit of truth, but then they're telling you that, it's kind of on the fence, but they are. And then I just read to you here. Let's go back. Did you catch the secret Pfizer report? The secret Pfizer report showing that the mRNA manufacturer knew since at least February 2021. I think it's been earlier than that, but they're just going to throw that out there, that they knew since February of 2021 that its COVID jabs were killing people, but continue to sell and distribute them anyway. All right. After me just reading you that, they still saying amazingly, the Moderna scientists behind the new paper still say that their company's mRNA shot is safe and effective. All right, I'm just gonna leave it at there and let you guys use your own brains and think what I just read, because they would probably get fired for telling the truth. This is in spite of the fact that their entire paper blows the lid on the extreme toxicity of mRNA, which they describe as, quote, complicated. To make mRNA safer, the scientists call for a multi-pronged approach that includes conducting more advanced laboratory testing. Man, you gonna tell me that y'all haven't done any advanced testing all this time, and now you just now calling for that? Man, stop playing with the people. Stop playing with the average, everyday people. All right? Stop playing with them. Hopefully, y'all guys are paying attention to what I'm reading. Go back and play this over and start using your mind and think. All right? Use your brain. All right? To make mRNA safer, the scientists call for a multi-pronged approach that includes conducting more advanced laboratory testing, making certain preclinical trial adjustments, and undergoing more animal trials that better account for differences in human and animal physiology. Dr. Robert Malone, one of the inventors behind mRNA, criticized the new study for downplaying the risk, Even the guy that has something to do with inventing or part of it, so it says, is even saying, hey, you're downplaying the risk. You're trying to keep it like you're not really trying to inform the people correctly. This is even Dr. Robert Malone saying Robert Malone was also banned on a lot of social medias when all this stuff popped off. And he even said he was down for vaccinations, but he had an issue with what was going on with the mRNA. And so they started banning them off of social media. So here you got the same doctor saying, yo, in a nutshell, you're downplaying the risk, man. You know the risk is real higher than what y'all trying to tell people. All right. So he criticized the new study for downplaying the risk of the technology. He is also skeptical about the true intent behind the study, suggesting that it could be part of what is known as a limited hangout. All right. Learn these terms, educate yourself, be mindful of these terms. Limited hangout, which is a propaganda technique that tells some truth while shrouding it in misinformation designed to prevent the discovery of other more important information. All right, I said that to you earlier. They're playing games with you. They're giving you a little truth, and then they're covering it up a little bit too. So you don't know everything, or you don't start wanting to look and find out, and people start finding stuff. All right. My most generous interpretation of the overall intent of the article is that this article summarizes and represents information concerning risk and toxicities of this platform technology, which Moderna wishes to have disclosed in a manner which puts the firm, its activities, and the underlying platform technology in the best possible light, Dr. Malone said. A less generous interpretation of intent is that this article represents a subtle form of propaganda strategy commonly referred to as a limited hangout. All right, write that down in your notes. Limited hangout. Understand what that is. All right, understand what that is. Despite the limited hangout possibility, the new study still says a lot about the dangers and ineffectiveness of mRNA injections. Even if its authors tried to downplay it by still claiming they are, quote, safe and effective. Just say no to all vaccines, wrote a commenter about the matter. Better to lose your job than your life. All right. I wonder how many of the scientists and the CEOs that developed these dangerous vaccines took it themselves, said another commenter. Skeptical about Moderna CEO, is that Stephanie Bancels? I think that's who that is. Or Stephane Banzels. I don't know if she's a woman or a guy. That's the CEO of Moderna. But we'll look that up and we'll get you up to speed on that as well. But again, I wonder how many of the scientists and the CEOs that developed these dangerous vaccines took it themselves. And a lot of you should be asking the same thing. You should have been asking yourselves the same thing before. This is not to bash y'all, but this is to let y'all know how they've been playing you. All right. And for you to be really mindful the next time if something like this pops off again, be very wary about them coming out with another something for you to take because of this new pandemic going down. All right. Again, I wonder how many of the scientists and the CEOs that developed these dangerous vaccines took it themselves, said another commenter, skeptical about Moderna CEO Stephanie Bancel's full-fledged support or his, okay, must be Stephane then, for his company's mRNA shots. SADS, SADS, myocarditis, AFib. So this is one thing. Write these things down. SADS, that's SADS, myocarditis. A lot of you might already know about that. AFib, autonomic or autonomic diseases, prion or prion diseases, strokes, heart attacks, Bell's palsy. Wow, said someone else about the many other known adverse effects of mRNA injections. If I had been vaccinated, I would be clawing my skin off right now trying to get it out. It is never a good idea to inject yourself with deadly vaccine chemicals, especially of the mRNA variety. And you can learn more at chemicalviolence.com. All right. So, yeah, there we go. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. All right. There you have it. Moderna scientists are saying that the mRNA vaccines are far from safe. Go back and play this again. Get familiarized with terms. Get familiarized with the names of people. And, we're going to keep on bringing you those pathogen news related events and news. I appreciate y'all. Be sure to go to pandemicnewsreport.com. pandemicnewsreport.com. And we'll be back again, man. We appreciate y'all. This is the Pandemic News Report, and we out. Peace.
And now, here is your pandemic news report.